Alright guys, ClevelandMoto, we're going to do a review that we missed. We accidentally missed this bike, and we shouldn't have, because it's a really cool bike, and we overlooked it. The CityCom 300, it's called the CityCom S now, 300i. Really cool bike. We're going to jump on this bike, and we're going to take a spin. First, do a little quick shot, let you guys see what she looks like. And this is the flat black livery, aka the Darth Vader look. There you have it. Pretty cool bike. Not a real big bike. This is a 300cc scooter. And take a jump on it. Let's go for a ride. See what she's all about. Very basic gauge package. Nothing crazy there. Nothing out of control. We don't have any, push button start or anything. It's got an actual real key. And like a lot of the Asian scooters, it's got the little magnetic nubbies on the back for the security. You can close the door over the entrance for the key, and that gives you some enhanced security so people not be jamming things in there. And you got people putting strange items in your key slot. You're not going to be a happy camper when people break off popsicle sticks and whatnot in there, or fill it full of super glue. All kinds of strange things we've seen come into the shop. All right, now this bike does come just like you see it with this fancy windshield on it, and it is a thick, nice quality windshield. It is not the chintzy stuff that you've seen on some bikes. It is a very, very high quality windshield, really well put together, and a decent medium height. Not super tall, not super short. It actually does give you quite a bit of wind protection up until a very certain point. You can see that this bike is, as we like to say here at the shop, straight from the crate. 0 millies. I just put gasoline in it. It took about 2.7 gallons of America's finest 87 octane. That's how we run them here. And the bike has, again, heat temperature gauge. Heat gauge is over here. We've got our check engine light right there in the middle. That will come on when you turn the bike on for a self-diagnostic. We have the adjustment here for the screens, so there's not a lot going on. We can switch from power, voltage, and we can switch over to clock. That's it. And then over here we can switch from trip to regular standard odometer. That's it. This is it. This is very austere. This is Spartan, if you will. High beam here. You get an oil check light there and a tachyometer. Everything that you'd expect. Nothing that you would think would be a luxury. Everything on this thing is pretty primitive. Basic. This is a no-frills scooter. Let's talk about that no-frills business. So it's $54.99, 5,499 Freedom units. That's what you're going to pay for this thing, plus your freight and your title and your prep and all those kind of things. Your mileage may vary. Speaking of that, this has the SYM loves their ceramic barrel and piston technology. Man, they dig it, and I dig it too. The ceramic barrel and technology piston means you're not getting a cast iron cylinder or an aluminum cylinder with a sleeve inside of it. You're getting a ceramic cylinder because the idea of that is two things. One, it has a lot less resistance, so it doesn't take as much lubricity, if you will, to move the piston back and forth and up and down. It also transfers heat better. So SYM has been doing these ceramic barrel and piston for a long time. The ceramic barrel's kind of their thing. And we can tell you from many other SYM bikes that we've worked on, it's a cool thing. It does give these bikes a little more punch. A little more chooch for your chotch. It gives you a little more power than the competitors because it's a happier piston moving around in there. Now, with this bike, it is a strange thing. I don't know if you noticed that when we took our little quick look at the bike on the intro, but it's got 16-inch wheels, not just in the front, but in the back. Yeah, not uncommon to see a 16-inch wheel on the front of a scooter these days, but it is very uncommon to see a 16-inch wheel on the back. Many of the bikes will have a 16 on the front and then like a chunky monkey 14 or 13 back there to get the rubber on the road. This bike doesn't. Same, the 16-inch diameter is the same, even though the back tire is a little fatter. And same size front and rear. Now, normally a big, tall rear tire like that would just murder your underseat storage area. Not in this case. This thing will swallow a decent-sized laptop case. A lot of scooters have the underseat storage area that's cut specifically for putting a helmet or two helmets in there. This one's pretty much It's got a big dent in the top. You can fit a full face in it. But also, like you said, if you've got a briefcase, if you've got a laptop that you want to carry, my 15-inch laptop just fits right in there like it was meant to go in. So that square-shaped opening, really cool. Gives you a lot of storage area under the seat. The battery is also located under the seat. An interesting thing, it has an extra kill switch, not just the emergency engine stop switch here on the handlebars, but it's got an engine kill switch under the seat, kind of like for foiling, that extra level of protection. If you, in case, maybe you're a person that likes to have a cocktail or two, and you want to go ahead and flip that switch so that when you come out of the tavern later on and your bike doesn't start, you'll be inclined to call that Uber. And then later on, you'll discover, oh, that's right, I flipped the switch that keeps me from making bad decisions. Now, I'm sure it's meant to be a security feature so that if somebody foils the door over the ignition assembly, that you've got yet another way to foil them. But that's what it is. Standard bag hook right here, and it's got a nice lockable storage compartment there in front of your knees. Decent amount of space in there, too. And it's got the now finally ubiquitous USB charger in there for charging of your electronic devices. So that's cool. Big thing we want to talk about, now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of the thing, is the windshield. So you probably can hear this at home. Hopefully you're not making everybody in the house upset. There's a considerable bit of wind noise because my whole face is up above the effective zone of this windshield. So now I've got this windshield hitting me right in the brain. The wind is right there. Now, if I want to make it more pleasant for all parties involved, I'm going to scooch down a little bit. Now, I'm not quite in a full tuck. I'm in a half tuck kind of thing. And now we're getting into the clean air. It's not so terrible. You get down into more of a full tuck, and now you're in the very, very clean air. So this windshield, I can appreciate what they're doing for people that aren't going to go over 50 miles an hour all the time. But for people who are going to be freeway flyers, I really think that a very popular accessory for this is going to be something along the lines of a 5-inch taller windshield. Now, again, optically, windshield's very cool, very clear, very easy to see through. Not a big deal at all. Certainly nice to look at. The bike handles great, at its freeway speeds. Now we're running at 80, and again, folks, if you're playing at home for the first time, that's 80 miles per hour indicated. And I'm going to tell you that if we test this bike, I'm sure we're going to find out that 80 miles an hour indicated is actually 72, because there's about a consistent 10% error to the optimistic side of things on every bike we've tested lately. The government says they're allowed to do it, and they're all taking full advantage of it. So 10% is about the norm. Very, very rarely do I come across a bike that I'm testing that has an accurate speedometer. Okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and let there be a little bit of space here, because now the guy in front of me is doing a good job of kicking the speed up a little bit. But I think this bike's got just a little bit more in it. And I think maybe he'll play along. What the heck? There we go. He's going to give us the lane, and let's see how much of this lane we can use. So, indicated 92-ish right now. Now, secret insider tip, this bike is brand new, like we said, straight from the crate, obeying all of the good break-in laws here. That's the way we want to live life, is right by the rule book. Now, I can tell you that once these bikes are broken in, it is absolutely not uncommon to see a 95 or even 98 mile an hour reading. Now, we're going into a headwind here, so we've got about 5 to 10 miles an hour blowing against our face, but we are creeping up on the indicated 95. There we go. So here's our CityCom. Now, what do we got to say about that? Because that's kind of cool. 300cc bike that's chatting along at 95 indicated. Pretty neat. I'm going to cheat it just a little bit. I'm going to flatten my back out a little bit, tuck my knees in. Because remember, folks, I am 6'1", and I am over 200 pounds without riding gear on. So I am not your average Asian test monkey. We are hauling a little more beef to market than they do. So I'm sure in other tests they do not have this full-size American shaved ape. So, yeah, I think that's about where we're going to be. I don't think we're going to get any more. I got to tell you, if you're riding along at home, you're going to notice this is a pretty damn smooth ride. We got the little bumps here and there, and the bike is very, very well behaved. Not a problem. Gonna catch, we're on, this little hill's gonna protect us from the wind, and yeah, we're gonna kiss that 95. Very cool. Let's slow down for traffic. Really fun, really cool. Good bike. Well done, Mr. Sim. Now, this bike isn't new. We got to tell you, this bike's been out for several years, but availability's been a bit of an issue here in the United States of America. And just recently, we've gotten a few more of them at the shop. They come in this very fetching flat black color, a metallic silver or metallic gray color. Looks really nice. It's a good-looking bike, but I'm going to get back into a big thing that I want everyone to understand with the CityCom. Let's talk about what their game is. I mean, I think the marketing department at SYM had some decisions to make. It'll be up to you whether or not you think they were good decisions, but this bike is $500 more than the Kymco X-Town 300. So the X-Town 300i ABS is $49.99 plus fees and fines and things like that. This bike is $54.99, so $500 more. Okay, now I love the 16-inch wheels front and back. I mean, this thing just feels super planted. It feels great. It rides smooth as any motorcycle I've ever ridden, and it's got very, very good brakes, but not the best brakes. Because for the best brakes, I have to tip my hat to the folks over at Kymco in that X-Town, because it's got a triple piston on the front and a double piston on the back. And it's got an ABS system that is foolproof. And I mean 65 miles an hour. Just crush the levers with both hands, and that thing stops as dead and as straight as anything. Very cool, very well behaved on panic stopping. So, what about this bike? All right, I'm glad you asked. So, on this particular bike, I have to say that I think the brakes are probably, if the Kymco's a 10 out of 10, then I gotta say these brakes are probably a 7 out of 10. And a lot of people are gonna immediately say, no, maybe they're a 5 out of 10 because there's no ABS. So this bike doesn't have an ABS system to speak of. It just doesn't have it. It's completely manual. They're not a linked braking system, okay? When you honk that rear lever, you can skid that tire just instantly. There's absolutely nothing keeping you from doing that. And the same thing happens when you give a handful of front brake. Now, there is a strange thing that I've noticed on these, and it's not just on this one. It's on the others I've ridden. We're going to do a brake check up here. We're going to get the bike up to a few miles per hour, and we're going to slam on the brakes, just because we want to give you an accurate demonstration of something a little interesting. Hey, 45 miles an hour, we'll do a brake check up here. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, there we go. Now that's as much front brake as I dare divot. As you could see, the back end was swimming around a little bit, and I had to back off my rear brake pressure considerably to keep that back end from just yawing all over the place and low-siding me into infinity. Again, we'll do it again up here just so we can kind of give you a demonstration, because I hope you're noticing that the front end, my hand is positively crushing, just crushing the front brake lever. Now, I've got the front brake lever going all the way to the grip. I mean, that front brake lever is just kissing the grip on these stops. What's happening? My front brake isn't locking. I am not getting to full front brake lock prior to the lever hitting the grip. That's interesting, to say the least. Again, we're going to do a panic stop up here just so we can show you what's going on. We'll go ahead and get the bike to 60 miles per hour, and at a fixed point, these poles are going to go ahead and smoosh the brakes. Okay, so what we got, my front brake was 100% fully engaged, and I had to keep backing out of the rear brake to keep the rear brake from locking up, to keep the rear wheel from locking up. Usually on most motorcycles that's been built, in the past 10 or 15 years, when I'm going full lever engagement, engaging the lever all the way to the grip, I am locking that front wheel. So now we have to ask ourselves a question. Skilled operator, having a panic stop that we're preparing for, so it's not much of a panic stop at all, and absolutely crushing the living daylights out of that front brake lever, I'm taking quite a bit of thought, quite a bit of skill to keep the back wheel from just locking up and painting a stripe on the road, which isn't helping you slow down as much as it should. So you want to keep that rear wheel in motion, not locking it, but decelerating like a monster. What about the front wheel? Well, we want the front wheel to be literally at the threshold of locking, but not locking. Either one, they have calibrated this non-ABS front brake so effectively with the right amount of surface area and the right amount of swept area on the rotor itself that they can get you a full crush the front lever into oblivion type lock, and the front wheel doesn't lock. And I mean, it's stopping short. Don't get me wrong. It's stopping really, really well. It's stopping in a very, very, very short distance. And at no point do I feel like the front brake is going to lock. So, question time. Is it the best front brake I've ever worked with, or is it bad? I don't know, and I'd love to have your comments on it, because you just saw me do at least 3 maximum performance brake checks on this thing, and at no point did the front end get sloppy, but I'm going in a straight line. At no point did the front wheel chip or chirp. Nothing. It held its line. It stopped the bike very quickly. And of course, here we are. A candidate, an absolute candidate for ABS. Oh, of course. Aren't we all? Sure. We don't all have our best day all the time. When that chipmunk or that kid runs out in front of us, and we want to protect that chipmunk, not so much the kid, but we do want to preserve wildlife. And when we have to crush those brakes in an instant, we can't always be relied upon to think, okay, I'm crushing the brakes in an instant. Now let's give that rear brake modulation to keep that thing in motion. So Kymco, best ABS system on the 300 series bikes that I've ever seen. CityCom, no ABS whatsoever, not even talking about it. But maybe, just maybe that's intelligent design. Maybe that's SYM building a bike for enthusiasts, right? I can tell you it corners great. I've cornered it in all kinds of situations. It corners fantastic. The suspension on it from the factory is brilliant. I mean, brilliant. So the suspension from the factory is excellent. You do not need to buy this bike and go, oh, first thing we got to do is we got to put some better suspension on it. No, you really don't have to even do that. You don't have to think about it. It's great. The brakes, okay, well, we got to figure those brakes out. I got to figure out what's going on. Because even here sitting at the light, you can see my right hand. I can pull that lever all the way to the grip, no problem at all. I cannot do the same with the left lever, the rear brake lever. So that's an interesting thing. That's a conundrum. Now, acceleration is great. That's where I say this CityCom has got it in spades over the Kymco and even over the BV400 from Piaggio. This thing likes to run. When the light goes green, this thing gets up and it boogies. It is a very quick bike off the line. It does not have any of the creature features. No, no keyless button start, no Bluetooth, there's no app for this bike to play with. It's extremely basic. Even the gauges, 3 gauges with needles and this little LCD area in the middle to give you what? Okay, the time? Yeah, you got the time. That's great. So you got the time and you got the battery voltage. Not even ambient temperature in there, man. So it's pretty basic. It's pretty austere. But God damn, it does run good, and it really does drive nice. Oh, deer! We got deer! There's always deer here. Oh, deer. Oh, there we got young deer. There goes young deer. Hello, deer. Hello, deer. Hello, deer. All right, what about your buddy? Coming across? Nope, just hanging out. A bunch more in the wood line there. So, we got a cool bike here. Now, is it going to satisfy the safety Nazis out there that insist that everything be traction controlled and ABS controlled and rain setting, rain mode and touring mode and sport mode? Nope, it's got none of that. So in that regard, it's pretty stripped down. But I will tell you what it's got. Seat's fantastic. Again, over 200 pounds, over 6 foot tall. What do I got? I can't put my feet forward really like I can on the X-Town 300, and there's no provision for doing that on the Beverly or the BV 400. This has got these areas here that have markings on them, like you might want to put your feet there, but for my long legs, it's pretty uncomfortable. I'd rather just keep the feet down here where they belong. Got quite a bit of a hump in the middle. You know, I suppose there's a bag hook right here. It's a good bag hook, but that bag hook, you know, is that going to be able to carry 4 or 5 bags from the grocery store? I suppose so, but it's a proper one. It's not made of cheese. So you got a little bit of room here between your legs. The underseat storage area is fantastic. Gotta say, overall, pretty damn happy with it. But give me some comments. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think about it. Don't just take my word for it. I want to play along, find out. And again, at that price point, so you know, at that $5,500, it's almost $2,000 lower. It's $500 more than the Kymco X-Town 300. That's $500 over that. Same warranty, but it's not quite $2,000 less than the BV 400. Are you going to say, give me the BV? Or are you going to say, give me the Kymco, and I got $500 in the kitty for other stuff? Let me know. So this has been Phil with ClevelandMoto. And as always, folks, remember to ride fast and take chances.